A diver reaches into a crevice on a coral reef and pulls back fast. Something just grabbed his hand. He looks down. An octopus arm, torn clean off the animal's body during the struggle, is still gripping his glove. Tight. On its own. No body attached. That arm has no brain. Or at least, that's what most people would assume. Octopuses are some of the oldest surviving predators in the ocean, dating back over 300 million years, long before dinosaurs existed. For most of that time, humans looked at them and saw exactly what we see in any animal. One head, one brain, one body giving orders. Simple. Except an octopus doesn't work that way. 2/3 of an octopus's roughly 500 million neurons aren't in its head at all. They're distributed across its 8 arms, each arm carrying its own dense cluster of neurons, its own local processing center. The brain in the head is real, and it does exist, but it only holds about 1/3 of the animal's total nervous system. So when that severed arm kept gripping the diver's glove, it wasn't a reflex twitch fading out, like a chicken running after its head is removed. It was still working. That raises an uncomfortable question for anyone who studies these animals. If an arm can act without a head, where does the octopus's brain actually end? And where does the arm begin? To understand what's happening, you have to look at what each of these arms can actually do on its own. In lab experiments, researchers have cut nerve connections between an octopus's arm and its central brain, then presented that arm with food. Even without a signal from the head, the arm can still reach for it, grip it, and move it, sometimes as if hunting on its own. Each arm is lined with hundreds of suckers, and every single sucker can taste and touch what it comes into contact with, independently of the others. An octopus doesn't need to look at what its arm is doing under a rock. The arm already knows. This is where the 9 brains idea comes from. 1 central brain and 8 semi-independent neural clusters running the arms. It's not that each arm is a separate conscious mind making its own life choices. It's that each arm can process sensory information and trigger movement locally, without waiting for permission from the top. But then a second problem shows up. If every arm is making its own decisions, what stops the octopus from falling apart into 8 uncoordinated limbs pulling in 8 directions? Something has to keep this animal moving as one creature and not as a committee. The answer researchers have found is that the central brain doesn't micromanage. It doesn't tell an arm exactly which muscle to contract, in which order, at which angle. Instead, it sends something closer to a general instruction. Reach over there, or grab that. And each arm works out the actual mechanics on its own. The arm knows its own flexibility, its own limits, its own position, better than a distant brain ever could. That's a completely different model of control from the one running in a human body. In us, the brain is the decision maker, and the limbs mostly execute. In an octopus, the brain sets the goal, and the arms figure out how to get there. Some researchers describe it less like a single mind giving orders and more like a central office coordinating 8 semi-autonomous field agents, each one trusted to handle the details. There's a strange consequence of this setup that shows up when an octopus grabs something it's never touched before, like an unfamiliar object dropped into its tank. The arm doesn't seem to consult the brain step by step. It investigates, adjusts grip, and manipulates the object largely on its own, and only sends back a general report. In some experiments, an octopus given a maze-like puzzle box will solve it with an arm reaching in and working blind, literally out of the animal's own line of sight, as if the arm is capable of solving the problem by touch alone. This is also why an octopus can do something that would be nearly impossible for almost any other animal. Control 8 independently moving limbs, each with essentially unlimited degrees of freedom, without constantly tripping over itself. A human brain struggles to consciously track the position of 10 fingers at once. An octopus never consciously tracks 8 arms at all, because it doesn't have to. The arms handle themselves. None of this means an octopus is 8 separate creatures wearing one skin. There is a real center to the animal. The central brain still processes vision, since octopus eyes are sharp and camera-like, remarkably similar in structure to a human eye, despite evolving on a completely separate path. The central brain also handles memory, learning, and the kind of long-term decision-making that requires holding on to information over time, something no single arm can do by itself. What's actually happening is a division of labor. The center of the system deals with the big picture: what to hunt, where to hide, what's dangerous. The periphery, the arms, deals with the immediate physical world. What does this feel like? How do I get a grip on it? How do I pull it toward me? Two systems doing two different jobs, feeding information back and forth. And the body running this arrangement is strange in other ways too. An octopus has 3 hearts, not one. 2 pump blood specifically through the gills, and a third pumps it through the rest of the body. Its blood isn't even red, it's blue, because instead of iron-based hemoglobin, octopus blood uses a copper-based protein called hemocyanin to carry oxygen, which happens to work better than hemoglobin in cold, low-oxygen water. Every piece of this animal seems to have been built by evolution, asking the same question over and over. Does this actually need to run through a single central point, or can it be handled locally instead? 3 hearts, because pumping blood to the gills and pumping it everywhere else are different enough problems to deserve separate solutions. 9 neural centers, because deciding where to hunt and deciding how to grip a rock are different enough problems too. Most animals, including us, are built around the assumption that intelligence has to live in one place. The octopus is a working example of a different assumption entirely, that a nervous system doesn't need a single throne room to function. It can be distributed, delegated, spread out into the very limbs doing the work, which leaves an odd thought sitting at the end of all this. Somewhere on a reef right now, an octopus is investigating a crack in a rock with one arm, while its central brain is watching an entirely different direction for danger. 2 separate problems, being solved by the same animal at the same time, without either part needing to ask the other for permission.